Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, D. Doss. I'm glad to see that you all had fun. There was almost 600 people over in DW's live stream, and his Occupy Halloween endeavor turned out very, very well. So hopefully we're not the caboose that slows down that train. More than likely we will be. Trying to get the camera hooked up, and for whatever reason, the Real Link Windows will not open on this computer. I'm still working on that. What's up, Kelly83? So, what did you guys think about the format that was used tonight, and that has been used? I'm glad you guys had a great Halloween. You had a great Halloween for me because mine hadn't been all that great whatsoever. I won't lie to you. It's been pretty lame. Didn't get to get any candy. Didn't get to get on here and talk to you guys when I wanted to, but we're going to make up for that right now. So did anybody get to check out the interview with Blue? Because I think it's his first one in almost a year. I had a lot of fun doing it. He's a great guy to talk to. He's always got great information. I've never talked to, I won't say never, there's a handful of people I've talked to who look at multiple encounters with Dogman in such nonchalant, laissez-faire light. Like it's sincerely just something that happens to him. Chasing the Truth says he could share his Rio link, which would be awesome. If you want to jump on, Sean, put your email in the chat and I'll get you on here. Yeah, Lakea, he cursed her all the way down. And see, what I know you probably noticed, what I was trying to get out of him, was it like an atypical curse? Because I'm pretty sure he gave her a good cussing and vice versa. But it almost sounded like he was insinuating that this girl cursed him, and that's when all this stuff started. So that was very interesting to me. That night, I really don't want to look too far into it or put words in his mouth or put things there that really aren't. But I find it awful weird that all this stuff happened right after he had this encounter. I call it encounter, this disagreement with this lady. And it sounds like he cussed her up one side and down on the other, and then all sorts of weird shit took place. So you can look into that as you want, but I do have some pictures that he sent that I'd like to share with you guys. I wanted to put them overlaying the video that we did, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But when this gentleman says that he has dealt with all this stuff, he does have all sorts of evidence to back up those facts, not including the Daddy Longlegs footage, which is just complete madness. You know, we all looked at that over a year ago. All the researchers or field investigators or enthusiasts that I talk to that know what they're looking at agree with me that there was all sorts of stuff going on in the footage that he had. That goes without being said. And to hear a year later that not only is the same activity happening, but more. He talked about the so-called Slender Man being that he's seeing, which to me it sounds like he has a lot of on top of the cryptid stuff that's going on, he has a lot of supernatural things. Like he says, this lady who cussed him up one side and down the other, who cursed him, was it just a cursing with words? Who knows? I'd like to know your opinion on it. I know mine. Because all this stuff doesn't just happen all at once. But then you have to factor in what's going on across the whole city. For the newspaper in that city to put out that there's a lizard man on the loose, that everybody should be careful, and there is no sort of playing around in that at all. That's very interesting. So Smudgy Mommies. Does anybody know what Blue's Instagram handle is? I don't. I know he's on all forms of social media. I think he's on all forms of social media. I don't want to put that yoke on him if it doesn't deserve, but I really do think that he's out there if you want to find him and actually talk to him. So again, it's awesome, this Occupy Halloween thing that DW put together. I know he worked really hard on it, and I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm going to get Sean G in here and keep the party rolling. And if you haven't already, which I know you have, but for the one or two people that haven't, go check out Sean G's show that he did tonight. And I think Sean may have a little bit of information on Vault's place that may have not have been said. Maybe it was, but we could reiterate on it. Hats off to Vault for doing what he did. Even though he's just in his backyard, I mean, he's used to this stuff. But watching him live, it does seem like he's in another world, another setting. Things going on behind him. And I did hear all the trees breaking as he put the fire out, which was pretty weird. Sean, and if anybody wants to get a hold of Sean, his website is displayed right now. Not his website, I apologize, his email address. In the meantime, I'd like to tell you guys about some weird shit that's been happening around here. All right, last night we put up that interview. I was going to do a show, kind of not expanding upon it, but kind of talking about the circumstances that Blue's got going. My phone's sitting right next to me, and it flies off of the couch. Flies off the couch, hits the ground, and is frozen for over an hour. It's the kind of phone you can't take the battery out of, so I couldn't do that. But there was no perpetual force to make it do that. This evening, as I'm sitting on my couch in my living room, we have an old one of these wall heaters. You know what I mean? So we got that lit, but the actual fire wouldn't light. We got the pilot lit, but the fire wouldn't spark on it. Out of nowhere, the fire sparks up. And it was just very strange, and especially in the context of the conversation that was going on in that moment, I found it to be very strange. And I've never known this house. It's an old rent house that my family owns. I've never known it to have any kind of haunting activity or anything like that. But over the course of the past 2 nights, there's been weird shit taking place. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. You know, the first couple of things, the phone, I could try to explain that away, and felt great doing so, because I really don't want to deal with that type of stuff. But yeah, it was absolute nonsense. It was weirdness. But I digress. Mr. Sean G, your invite should be there. And Vault as well. Vault's done double duty tonight, so if he can't make it, I completely understand, but he is always more than welcome. So I'm jumping here now that all that's done. I'll jump in here in the chat with you guys. Candy Girl said she heard the interview with Blue, and he's very brave and insightful. That's saying a mouthful. He really is. And just the casual, I don't even want to call it casual, just the way he deals with this stuff, and now it's no big deal to him, makes it even scarier. You know what I mean? Like, going out into the woods, dealing with this stuff on my own accord, I know what I'm going into, but he lives around it. He has to deal with it. So yeah, hats off to Blue. Thank you, Brian Johnson. I feel the same. Big old yawn from Brian Johnson. Sorry, guy. So, anyhow, Dark Waters will jump in there with us. Dark, I need your email, sir. Yeah, I mean, like I knew I had a hard act to follow. Sean G, it should be there, sir. Vault's in the chat with you guys. Great job tonight, Vault. And yes, I was one of the few people that did hear all the tree breaks, or it looks sounded like limb snapping after the end of that show. But suffice it to say, Halloween, they say, is when the portals, when the veil between worlds is at its thinnest. So we knew some weird stuff was going to go on. We just didn't know exactly what. Red Raider thinks it's awesome what we're doing. I think it's awesome too, and it's only going to get better. When we get more cameras up, which I couldn't imagine having more than just vaults up after watching the footage and the format that DW and Vault kind of brought forward. You know, somebody talking to him in real time as he's going out into this highly active area. It's phenomenal. So I don't want to let a cat out of the bag, but we're going to have one very, very soon in southern Oklahoma, possibly two. Brown Springs, most of you know where that is. If you don't, it's in southern Oklahoma on the Texas border on the Red River, where there's been encounters with what they call the black man dog, Bigfoot, and other very, very strange beings. I'm super excited to get back down there. I haven't been there in over 2 years. Carrie's got, I don't know if you guys saw it, but a phenomenal piece of evidence from the camera in Mississippi the other night. It was sent to me. I can vouch for it. It does look like some sort of a bipedal being. And I'd be hard pressed to say anything else. You know, a lot of people talk in circles around what it is. I try to call a spade a spade. And unless some weird looking person was hiding in the bushes watching Vault, I don't know what else it could be. So Sean and the Grand Poobah should be showing up right now or sometime soon. So what other locations would you guys like to see cameras at? Why have you here? What places do you think would be very active, like what we have in Mississippi, where Vault is? Where would you guys like to see a camera put? And where do you think that we could get evidence? That's the cool part about it. It's not just a handful of people, it's everyone. Anybody can have access to these cameras and see what we are seeing in real time. Or as Vault and Dark have shown, move a real field researcher or field investigator through the brush in real time. Tell him what you're seeing that he may not. There we go, Sean. Why don't you guys follow the NAPE that Dark Waters has and put cameras along their migrational trail? That's the best way to do it, I think. And we have talked about things like that. There are other areas that are a little bit better than their migrational trails. There's nests in southern Oklahoma and other places in Mississippi that I know of where we know they're occupying them. It's just the point of getting in there. It's Walt's doing. He really had an advantage, but even though that's basically his backyard, it still pretty arduous to go back through there. Like you said, it backs up against the swamp, and I mean it's pretty marshy, hectic land to navigate through. Shoot northeast Oklahoma. Yeah, northeast Oklahoma has a lot of activity. A lot of people don't know that, so you're in the know. You'll hear one or two encounters. I think there was one that was televised in the Tulsa area. All of northeast Oklahoma has had these sightings. That's where you get boots on the ground and actually talk to the people, so you'll know exactly what's taking place, because a lot of these things go, unreported. And that's the unfortunate part about it, and that's why I'm very, very grateful to all of you guys, because not only do you watch the cameras, but you actually, like you're doing right now, you know of places where all this stuff's going on, and you're not keeping it to yourself. What's up, Sean? There he is.
Hey, D, what's going on, brother?
Not a lot, brother.
All right, I got that. Let me see if I can share that cam out. Let's see, share screen. Let's see, window. Here it is, and we'll get this out and about. Hopefully that will pop up there.
There we go.
And the only way I've got to be able to do this is run it through my 3.1 sound system and over my mic. I don't know how bad that will sound, but we'll get her going. Turn this up to max. Don't know if you can hear that or not.
Yeah, I could. That knocking noise?
Yeah, that is the audio. It's choppy. It's always been choppy on my end when I'm in the Rio link. Can you guys see it okay?
I can see it great.
All right. Well, there you go. That's one way to edit out any kind of issues with somebody not having access. Get somebody that has access and has this type of format to put it on. So there you go.
There you go. Outstanding show tonight, by the way.
Did it last night, so it was like 3.5 hours. Had 9 callers and a guy from Texas with a dog man in Canada.
Yeah, that's the one I heard.
Yeah. Let me get my notes from that thing. I've slept since then, so my memory is not that great. Michael from Texas. He turned blind about 6 years after that. And interesting, to say the least. Hey, the Ball of Nightmares is in there.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Great show tonight, Vault and DW.
Yeah, they put a lot of preparation into that show, folks, and into today. It wasn't just jumping on and going to it. They really put a lot of their heart and soul into it to make sure you guys enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. What was on the back of that cloak there, Vault? Was that a dragon? Hit those likes. Yeah, there you go.
See, Michelle Smith had some weird stuff happen to her. She says our car kept locking on its own. So I don't know if that's just like the time that we're in right now as far as today, or I don't know. It was very, very strange, especially the phone flying like 3 feet off the couch when I didn't touch it. I tried to rationalize it every which way, like maybe I moved and pushed the couch against the wall like made it bounce. But that was just kind of convincing myself of it so I wouldn't worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me before I do this, I'm gonna quit my Skype on this computer. We don't want anything like that. Oh, wait a minute. I can actually take calls on my other computer and pop it in if you want to take calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, give me just a second and warm up the other computer, and we'll get that. We'll start taking calls here in just a second. Then that will be no problem. Give me just a second and log in on the other one.
Well, that was a huge fire you had going too.
Yeah.
Yes, happy anniversary to Vault and Lakea.
Alrighty, make sure I got the Skype running. Oh, there's the audio going good now. Well, it takes its time, so hold on just a second. Got to reinstall the app. For whatever reason on this old computer, I've got to reinstall older version of Skype on here.
We won't take the newer version, no?
Yeah, I'm running a 2011 Mac Mini on one, and I've got a newer MacBook Pro that's up to date, but it doesn't like the other junk with it.
Well, there's your problem. It's MacBook.
No, man, I actually like MacBooks. I will never work on my MacBook again because I'm getting a little too old. My eyesight and fingers are not working as well as they used to be, but I replaced the screen on this thing and replaced the battery. That was hard as heck.
I bet it was.
It just taught me that one, I'm getting a little too old for this stuff. So let's see if this will.
Very integral work.
Yeah, when the screws that you're working with are smaller than a grain of sand, well, about 2 grains of sand. I actually had to have a magnifying glass to put that thing together and take it up.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah, I've never worked on a MacBook or any kind of Macintosh products, but I mess around a little bit with towers and all that. Just seeing one pulled apart at my friend's company where he works on computers, it's a whole different ballgame. I wouldn't try to mess with it.
Yeah, they got it so they've got it so where you can't do any kind of work on it. They've got serial locks on if you change a part out inside of a particular computer, or especially like with iPhones, you can't do any work on that third party work.
Right.
You got to take them back and replace it, and all they do is create e-waste. They all say, well, it's all green and stuff. No, it's not all green. They create e-waste with each and every one of them. It's not green at all. That's the problem. But I did on Vault's after he extinguished that big old. Let's see, is this still going? Yeah, a big old bonfire. I did hear a lot of snaps and cracks and crap in the background. All right, folks, if this thing will work, and it's verifying the app and open, yeah, okay. So we should be able to take calls now, if this thing will show itself. Yeah, 931-994-6917. If you want to call in to talk to DDoS or myself, the lines are open, folks.
Sweet.
And I will be able to pipe you in just like I do on my other shows. So 931-994-6917.
This is the first open call show that I got to be a part of in over a year too, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome. So here we go. Let me pop that up in the chat here. Where is the chat window? Yeah, well, did you get that number? You can pop it up on the screen there. 931-994.
Is it over on our side?
No, hold on just a second. I actually closed it out so it would be an echo. I'll get in on my iPad, put that in there. But yeah, it's always fun. You never know what you're going to get when you do the open lines. That's just crazy stuff from the get.
Yeah, no doubt. It always makes interesting listening, though.
Oh yeah,
especially on your show, man. Like you become. I remember listening to your first show where you and Dark, you took your first live call, and it's like it's night and day.
Well, it's nervous. It got me Well, actually, it's like I used to get really nervous before I went to do live calls, and now it's like I can't hardly wait to see who calls in. I had a guy call in 23 hours after he had missing time. He got flashed by some blue lights while he was driving up in High Point, North Carolina, and he had 2 hours of missing time. But he just got a full tank of gas and was going 45 miles an hour. 2 hours later, he was about 20 miles down the road and nothing off the odometer and nothing off the gas hand.
Damn.
And you're kind of wondering, what in the world was that?
Yeah, exactly.
931 994
931
6917. I'm popping it into the chat right now.
Awesome. If you look in chat, there's the
we've got the first caller. Whoop. Well, I think it was one man band. Tony, if you call back in, I didn't see it till just now. Call right back. 931-994-6917. If you want to talk to D Doss on his first live since he's been back on the air, go for it.
Sweet.
I'll play the operator and you run the shit there, my friend.
Sounds like a plan. So what do you think? Like, I don't know if you heard or not. I was talking about the little weird supernatural stuff that I've had the past couple of days. What would you attribute to that place that never had that kind of stuff before?
Well, Halloween is supposed to be the thinning of the veil, so to speak, between the ethereal and the actual world that God put us in.
Right.
So, well, you could look at it that way. From my near-death experience, I have no doubt that things can cross over because God allows it. It's just one of those things. For whatever reason, and he, threw down the third of heaven out of heaven, so you never know what they can do.
Right. And in Revelations, it talks about how...
Okay, we got a couple of calls. Hold on just a second.
Sure.
Tony, the one-man band, is on the air. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Tony?
Oh, hold on just a second. Maybe I don't. Wait a minute, Tony. I believe I'll get you on just a second. I've got to do something real quick.
Well, while you're doing that, I want to answer Jenny Banks' question because it's a very interesting one. It's something I've been asked before. I'm curious if a person encounters a cryptid, such as a dog man, with praying out loud.
Uh-oh. Okay, Tony, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Hey, what's up, Tony?
There you go. Sorry about that.
Hey, D. What's going on? Yeah, sorry.
Not a lot, brother.
I think when we connected, I can disconnect it. But yeah, I guess I am the one-man band. I'm of my own little volition here. But yeah, D, I'm the guy that said I'm from Northeast Oklahoma.
You're from Northeast Oklahoma?
Yeah. I mean,
right on. Got a homeboy.
I've been on Sean's show a few times. Well, I guess more than a few times. I've been on in a while telling my my stories from the Northeast of Oklahoma. I got just about anything. But it's Halloween night, and I thought I'd call in. It's super cool that you guys are doing a call-in show. Especially adding a little mix to that.
Well, I'm glad you did because like I said, I've not done it, especially on this channel. I've not done a call-in show, and the first one being someone from my home state is pretty awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. As I always do, I always just lead right into a story, and it ends up being a conversation. I'll tell you. So since it is Halloween night, I know this is Dogman Canyon, and I know everybody likes to go in that direction. But I got a story here that I haven't told really a lot of people. This is a personal story of mine. It involves a cult.
Oh, wow.
Of some sort. So when I was a junior, going into my senior year in high school, in the summertime, and then ended up going into the fall, we used to mess around in the woods, and there was a place we called the Bottoms. We'd go out there, mess around, doing what young people do and whatever. And as the school year began, I had a teacher that was like, there's some things that go on back there. I was like, oh, we like, okay, well, back there behind there, if you go, you go down this road, you take a right, and there's a baby grave. It's a well-known baby grave. There's stories of people's cars stalling out over there. Everybody has those stories around in their hometown. And so as we get back there, we've been back there. We've, investigated the place. This is about the time, after I had some experiences that I've told on Sean shows previous that, I was like, I'm done doing the investigative part of this. So we, as a senior in high school, I had a teacher. She said, "Hey, there might be something more than just what you're looking for out there." And I asked her, I was like, "What do you mean by that?" She said, "There's some people in this town that go out there and do things." I was kind of, okay, just kind of keep looking, whatever. So we always used to go in the nighttime. And one day we went out there during the day. I said, let's see if we can find something. We went out there, and there was, I promise you, there was probably over 50 dog bones out there, like dogs, like just bones. Like there was
50 dog bones.
Skull. I'm telling you, it covered this entire forest floor. Dog bones.
That's what it sounds like. 50 bones is quite a bit.
I'm telling you, there was a lot of bones out there. I lost count of how many skulls were out there of dogs.
So, and this is the same place where they're doing this kind of like witchcraft type stuff, or having these. I don't want to say like satanic gatherings or anything, but you know what I mean. Like that's where they're doing the weird shit.
Yes. So once we found that, we found all these bones. Literally, they covered the entire forest floor. Like it was, if you guys, I'm One Man Band on YouTube. There's a snapshot. I have a video back. This is like 10 years ago. And I show pictures of some weird things that went on back there. If you guys want to see that, I'm not trying to promote myself, whatever. Anyways, if you want to do the
absolutely promote yourself, folks. One Man Band. Is that the whole title?
I haven't posted anything in a while.
Right. Make sure if you're listening to this stream right now, hold on one sec. If you're listening to this stream right now, go check out One Man Band, hit the subscribe button, and then hit the bell so you can see everything else that he's putting out. Because I haven't got to talk to you a whole lot. I listened to an interview. You seem like a good guy, and you're my brother from the motherland. So make sure you check out One Man Band's channel, folks.
There you
go. I'm supposed to be doing we're supposed to also do this, another sidebar. I'm supposed to be doing a podcast with Chaos. I'm trying to edit it. My audio on that was very bad, and I'm trying to figure out ways that we can do it. Chaos Theory Production. He's buddy of Vault, buddy of the Dark World's family. And so we're going to be getting that, trying to get that squared away. Like I said, the audio was bad. I'm muffled in some points. Well, anyway, so back to the story. So we went out there one day in the middle of the day. It was like a Saturday. Went out there and looked. I was like, wow, there's a lot of bones out here. And I was like, that's kind of creepy. So we ended up, going back kind of a couple nights later. And we're out there hanging out and, just nothing too crazy. And I was like, well, let's do some more exploring, more, because there's a little, before you get to the bottoms area where it's kind of swampy, it's like there's a reservoir type thing that's back there. I want to see how many dogs are roaming around. So there's a little place that we call Little Mexico. That's where all the Hispanics live. They all kind of bunch together on their own piece of land, and they just kind of live. And so I just, we went out there. I did myself, really, to be honest. Went out there and was looking around, and I could not see a dog outside anywhere. I was like, that's weird. Usually, they have, most people, have animals or have pets. There was no pets to be found at all. And so then I kind of went back to my teacher and I asked her, I said, well, we found some things out here. And by the way, this is a teacher in high school that I was at. I said, well, we found some things out there. She said, I'm telling you, keep going further. You haven't found anything yet. And as a 17, 18-year-old kid, I'm like, what? Like, what is, like, is a deeper, darker criminal link, type thing going on? and it just kind of, you know, I've always been part of the paranormal, and I've seen things in my life, and you know, being Native American, it's you know, it's almost like a birthright to experience some things that you're not supposed to know about, or you're not supposed to experience, or whatever, forever.
That's very interesting.
And,
you would say that. Now, I don't want to, you know, like play Dick Tracy and figure out where you are, but you said you're in northeastern Oklahoma. You're a Native American that's experienced this type of stuff. I'd like to talk to you off air because I think I know where you are. And if you're where I think you are, there's a lot of weird stuff happening up there, man. I'm sorry?
Well, I mean, I've been on Sean's show a lot, you know, just kind of talking
Sure.
you know, about things and whatnot. But yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, I'm on Facebook. I'm friends with Sean on Facebook. I'm friends with a few other people on Facebook. But so I guess to finish my story, I'm being long-winded. So
you got me interested, bro. Continue being long-winded. Yeah, you got me hooked.
Oh yeah, he can tell a story or two.
Yeah, he can.
And so I went to my teacher. She said that she was like, you know, there's more things to it. You know, there's more things that you can find. So we would go out there a few times, and nothing happened. Nothing. We didn't find anything. Nothing. It was pretty much the same thing. And one night we went out there. My buddy had a Jeep. It was one of those old school 90s Jeeps with it had like the plastic tinting on the outside. And we went further back there, like, because, you know, I mean, it's like a 3-mile trek through these woods, mud, like, it's ridiculous. Well, he went back there, and there's a little trail that it looks like somebody had kind of paved back there, and it kind of was wore out. And we look back there, and there's this fire back there. I mean, it's kind of off in the distance, but you could tell there's a fire. But it's inside the woods, so, like, if like a helicopter from the cops or, you know, the whatever, because we're close to a river. You know, it could be anybody that's flying over looking, you know, whatever. Well, it's kind of indensed in the woods. You could kind of tell that, you know, it was kind of like a decent sized fire. So I told my buddy, I said, man, hit the gas. We'll see if we can catch these people. And I'm, like I said, I'm 17, 18 years old. I'm a straight, you know, stupid, you know, and I can see the fire. We can see the flames from the woods, and we're speeding through this thing. We're hitting all types of holes. Everybody's bouncing around, and we get around this corner where it kind of curved off, and you could see to the left-hand side that there was a, you know, like it could be, you know, we're about to run up on a fire, and all of a sudden we get out the car and it's out. The fire's gone. I mean, it's completely out. We go over there, and I look at it. I'm like, somebody was just here. And you could tell when someone throws water on the fire and like, or, you know, they're getting out of there.
Dude, I love how you, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but whoa, what was that?
No.
What was that? Spider. That's a spider.
Is it?
Yeah.
You saw that too? All right. Like, I was half watching, I see this thing. Okay. Anyways. All right. Everybody saw what I saw. All right. I'm not losing my mind. Anyways, that completely made me lose my train of thought. I love how you're telling the story, and you're like the Hardy Boys or like the young Sherlock Holmes. Like, well, there's fire over there. I'm going to go investigate. Like, bro, let me tell you something. Living in southern Oklahoma, there's a lot of this, what they call demonic gatherings and satanic worship and stuff going on in the woods. And I know for a fact that I've seen them, but my first instinct wasn't like, let's go investigate. So I tip my hat to you, bro, because you're badass. Man, and if you did go investigate, we couldn't hear this right now.
I'm not badass. I'm telling you right now, I was dumb as hell. That's what it was. Dumb as hell. Like I said, we could tell someone's fire was there, and it was kind of the way the trees bended, kind of like was almost like a canopy, and you couldn't see it from the sky, but you could see it through the wood, like the area. And there was probably about 6 or 7 of us. I mean, I wasn't scared, you know. Worst comes to worst, there were some football players with us. You know, we got to scrap. It is what it is. We got to lay hands down. It is what it is. So we ended up going back and something one day, and this is a couple days later, something told me there's a house as you go there. I never noticed it before, but I noticed it was on the right-hand side. And being 17, 18 years old, we're speeding down these roads. We're not giving, you know, we're going. Well, one day my buddy had stopped in the middle of the road. There was something that passed by. I can't remember if it was a rabbit or a squirrel or something, whatever. And I looked over to the right-hand side, and I saw this house. I said, there's something off with that house. Something doesn't strike right. And I've always had an ability to kind of sense things when I'm like, that ain't right. Something's not right with that. Well, that night, I gathered about 5 or 6 of us. I said, hey, we're going to investigate this house. I know we're trespassing, but we're going to do it anyway. You only live once. And so there was, 5 or 6 of us. There was a couple girls and me and my buddy and another buddy of mine. And the buddy of mine that was the smallest guy that we could lift up. This fence, being mine, this fence was a wooden fence, and it was I would say about 12 feet tall. It was a monster fence around it connected to the front of the house all the way back around, and then there was a chain link fence where you can see inside on the other side of the house. The chain link fence had barbed wire around it, the part of the fence. And I don't know why the whole time I didn't notice this, but I did at that moment. And I looked, I said, why has that got barbed wire around it? Why is this fence 12 foot tall? What's going on? So we ended up that night, we went out there, and it's right off the highway. It's probably a half a mile down the highway. And we lifted my buddy up, and he looks over the fence and he can barely see. We're just trying our best to get him open to see so he can even see what's going on there. And there was a barn in the middle of the area, kind of off in the back side of the fence. And he said there was a big old symbol on the side of that barn. He said it looked like an eye. And I said, well, what else do you see? He said, there's symbols all inside of the fence. I said, explain some. I don't know if you guys have ever seen hieroglyphs or any. I mean, well, yeah, I guess obviously people have, but like those hieroglyphs where it looks like a pie symbol with like dots and like there's like weird random lines all over the place. And I said, I was like, well, what else? I mean, is that all that's it? He said, there's a light inside this barn.
So wait a minute, there's a light inside like the broken. So this is in the same area where all this weird ritualistic stuff's going on.
Exactly.
And you see this barn you seem like a pretty observant cat. You see this barn that you've never taken notice of before. And there's a light on it.
There's a light inside. So there's a house, there's a fence that's like 12 foot tall. Then there's a barn in the backyard, and there's a light. And I said, we lifted my buddy, and he said that he could see that there was a light inside that barn. Wow. With symbols on the outside of the barn and inside of the fence.
That's madness.
Well, could it be kind of those what am I trying to think of? They use those witchcraft signs and symbols to keep witches out of their barns up in the Northeast. If you know what I'm talking about.
To keep them out of their barns?
Yeah.
Now, see, I've heard that there's been symbols drawn on barns to let other witches and magical practitioners or whatever know that, hey, we're about that life. Come on in here. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's rumors of that around my area in Southwest Virginia and Western Kentucky, of witches carrying on churches inside of old barns and stuff. I actually
absolutely
have that. So,
hex symbols. Mark Roberts says. I have a question before you continue on, brother. Let me ask you this: what state do you think has the most alleged satanic ritualistic activity? Like devil worshiping activity, where they go out in the roads and sacrifice things.
Virginia. You would be surprised, but I would probably say Texas.
Virginia's on the list, and Texas is definitely up there, but it's Arkansas.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was investigating this real hardcore at one point in time because there was some stuff going on around here in southern Oklahoma, and Arkansas is like a haven for black magic practitioners, Satanists. Then I'm not talking about the lipstick lesbian Satanists, and that's what I call those Hollywood people that are throwing up the signs and whatnot. They're really not doing what these cats are, which is the sacrificial magic type stuff. Now that's the real deal. and they wouldn't do it if there wasn't power behind it. And that's the point I was trying to get to in your story. Like, from everything you're talking about, it sounds like some real stuff is going on in those parts.
Hey, well, Dale, hey, you know what? You haven't even heard the story that I told Sean about a woman I dealt with for a while. Maybe I'll tell that another time. It's a long-winded.
Oh, is that the blood in the milkshake story?
Yeah.
Oh, blood in a milkshake.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, man.
All right, hold on.
Stories.
All right, I don't want to derail this, but that sounds like a story I want to hear. So let's continue on with this. But there's that title. If I saw that, I would definitely listen to it. Blood in the milkshake. Damn.
So my buddy, we lifted him up. He saw those things. He saw the symbols, all the things, saw the light in the barn. And the next day we went outside, or we came back. Like, it was the next day. It was light outside, and I went out there, and I saw on the back side of where the barn is. I snuck around the side, and it was the middle of the day. Snuck around the side and saw some symbols right exactly where the barn was. And it was like a Q, but it wasn't. It was like a Q symbol, like it was like a Q symbol, but it wasn't. And it kind of bothered me because I see it to this day. It's like you could see the circle with the Q, and it has like some stuff going off to the side, and it's all connected. And to this day, I quit messing with it. I ended up going to college, but my teacher always told me, she said, there's some things in this town that, you kids, you won't ever know unless you look, and it's right in front of your face. You just don't see it. You're just living your life. You're just kids, you're just doing what kids do,
How old were you when this teacher told you that, bro? Sorry to interrupt, but like,
I was 17. I was a junior when I was started my research, and then I was a senior. So I was 17, 18. I turned 18 at the end of my
So you were a young man. You weren't just some kid that maybe she was trying to give the heebie-jeebies to. This teacher is kind of pulling you to the side saying, hey, like, I know what you're looking into, and there's some weird shit going on. Like, you just got to know where to look.
Well, the reason why she told me is, like I said, I've told these stories on Sean's channel, but as growing up, man, it's like, he being here. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not a full blood by any means, but I know the culture. I know my people. My dad's full blood. My mom's a member of the tribe, and I'm not gonna say the tribe, but we have dealt with things in my life that involve a little bit of I guess you could say soft. I guess you could say that's really what it comes down to. So yeah, I know things. I knew things, and she's like, "Well, you know things, right?" I'm like, I know a little bit. I ain't know a lot, but I know some things, and I can definitely tell what's going on if there's some things going on. And that has pushed me in a direction where I see things that people always say, man, how do you have all these stories of all these crazy things happen? And I can't explain it. I'm just like, man, well, I was there when, I was sitting in the corner when I saw two dudes, beat each other over the head with a bottle, and their girlfriends are making out in the corner, like just crazy stories.
What? Oh, that you caught me with 1 foot off the merry-go-round with that one. Yeah, so you see, and suffice it to say, you've seen some wild stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to talk to me a little bit, I guess you say.
And I could vouch for that, man. Like, just having contact, because I'm 100% black, but having contact with a lot of tribe, a lot of people know this about me. Buster Nett, the last great medicine man of Oklahoma, his great nephew is my best friend growing up. So I've been.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Who was that?
Now, I'm telling you right now, and this is some inside baseball. There's some people out here that's still doing some things.
Is doing some things.
I know that the rules have changed. This is some inside baseball, and I don't, Paul always gets on to me for giving some inside baseball, but there's people out here in the state of Oklahoma that are doing some things.
I see what you're saying. Well, this is let me back that up a little bit. There's been books and stuff written about this man as a traditionalist, and they traditionally say he's Oklahoma's last great medicine man. I know that there's some whatchamacallit going on. You know what I mean?
Powerful people here.
Yeah,
There's some
there absolutely is.
powerful people here.
And bro, this is something else we'll talk about a little bit later on because I don't want to derail your story. But let me ask you this: there are some powerful people in Oklahoma who are still practitioners. Have you ever heard about? And there's a different word for it in Choctaw and Chickasaw. That's the only thing I know here in Southern Oklahoma. But in other cultures, they call it skinwalkers. Have you ever heard of anything like or changelings? Have you ever heard of anything like that up your way with the traditionalist native?
Actually, I had a guy on my show, last show, not this show, but the show before that talked about the black magic and tribes.
It's no joke, bro.
It's
really no joke. And the things that you have to do to get that power and contain it and use it is pretty wicked stuff.
Well, from what he told me off air, this guy, he said his uncle was a black shaman, dark shaman. He practically had to be a serial killer. Bad medicine. He practically had to be a serial killer to keep in good with whatever he worshipped.
Yeah, that's about right. Dang.
And I'll say this. Not to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
There's a reason why Oklahoma, and there is a reason. There's a reason why Oklahoma's prisons and jails are full of natives. There's a reason for it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think me and you both know what that is. And it doesn't go talked about. It's not displayed. People don't even really mention it. But if you live here, you know what the score is. You know what I mean? If you look in Oklahoma for the demographic of the people that go missing the most, bro, I know you know what that is. Native American women. Mm-hmm. And they're a fraction of a percent of the population of Oklahoma. So why is this small fraction of people going missing in Oklahoma? I mean, nobody really looks into that. Because then you get into what they call, the fiction and the hocus pocus part of it. But it is what it is. That's all I'll say about that. All right.
And it comes down to like I said, I'm giving away a lot of inside baseball. I've seen some videos on YouTube of Apache, people talking about some inside baseball. The tribe that I belong to, they believe in inside baseball. Tell it all. Say everything. And
why not if nobody's going to believe them? You know what I mean?
And that's exactly what it comes down to. And there's been a lot of things going on. I mean, since this is a Dogman centric channel, I'll tell you a Dogman story I told on Sean's show. This is pretty wild. This is what I was told from I would call her elder. She's older. She was a professor at a university for the tribes. And I can tell the tribe. It's easy to track people down nowadays. But a story that I told on Sean's show, and Sean, I apologize. I told you the story not inaccurately, but just I didn't space it out as much as I should have.
Okay. Well, that's all right.
And I was thinking about that the other day. I was talking to some people, and I asked them, I said, what happened with that? And they were like, this, and this. I was like, I didn't space it out. So there was a woman that I know, and this is a Dogman story. And by the way, I'll get off the line. I'm sure there's some people, chomping at the bit to call in, but so she was out with some friends one night, and there's four of them.
I hear some dogs barking on the camera.
Is that where that was coming from?
Yeah, that was where that was coming from. Are there dogs barking over there, Lakea? But, well, you never know. It could have been one of Lakea's pups out there, doing the business. Now there it goes again.
Doing some things.
Yeah. Let me turn this microphone around and then point it toward the speaker. See if you can hear it.
Okay, so the dogs are asleep.
Oh, well, there we go.
Oh, snap.
Sorry about the audio being so choppy. It's just the way the connection is.
Rafi and Fairmoon, just jump on what they said real fast. A lot of people refuse to be loud after dark in the Southwest. Do not whistle is an unspoken rule in the Southwest, and even atheists follow it. You're absolutely 100% correct, and that was one rule since I have a bad habit of whistling that I was told in Arkansas at our family farm to cut out, and got plenty of spankings over that. And I didn't understand it because, like, it would only be when I was in the woods or going towards the woods that I wasn't supposed to whistle. You don't think about that kind of stuff back then. You know what I mean?
Well, my grandmother always tried to spook us to get us in after dusk by saying the booger is going to get you. And I never really knew what she was talking about till later on. And like, oh, she was talking about Bigfoot.
Yeah, and see, my people in Arkansas called them catamounts. So I just assumed they were mountain lions, even growing up. Like, even though that makes no sense. Like, why would whistling unless it would draw their attention to you? But a catamount, the root word of that being cat, I just assumed they're mountain lions or cougars. What is that knocking noise? I think that's a part of the audio, right?
Yeah, that's part of the audio. I've got it's probably the bass in the audio picking up the choppiness.
What's up, Larry and Candace Hills?
Hey, Larry, Candace, what's going on? But to continue your interesting story there, Tony.
Yeah, no, okay. So she was with 4 people, or it was her and 3 other people, and they were driving down the road, and they was all, kind of, young people doing young people things, I guess you could say. I'm not trying to say anything, but I guess. But she was, they were driving, and they were just kind of talking, and, she looked over to her right, and there was this dog. She said there was this dog with red eyes running down the side next to the car. And she didn't believe it, so she looked at it and then looked away. And she was like, just kind of. If you know Indian women, man, they'll look at things and be like, ain't nothing, That's
yeah.
So,
I know exactly what you mean.
And she looked at it. She goes, well, is that a dog? That dog's probably taking something. And she looked away, and then she looked back, and that dog was still running with him. And they was going like 50 miles an hour. And she looked, and the next thing it nudges them. It nudges the car, and they're kind of losing control, and and they're freaking out, and all this stuff, and all these things, and they end up chasing it away. And this goes into someone that said in the chat. And then a couple of days later, they were hanging out with this girl, and this is, to my knowledge, this is a true story. I've asked her this story multiple times, and I actually double checked it when I was on Sean's show. I kind of rushed it, trying to get off the line, but. I've verified this with a few people, and she's told the story too. Can't get a hold of her. She's from a small town, and she's an elder. Sometimes that stuff doesn't work out too much with technology, but and she said that there was 5 of them, and they saw this thing again, and it was chasing them. They outran it. They finally outran this thing. She said she called it a dog. She finally outran it. They went down the road, and they kind of, it went away. And she hears some crying in the background. Like, she's in the front seat, and there's a driver, and then there's 3 in the back. There's a guy, a girl, and a guy. And them boys in the back start freaking out. They start crying. Oh no! What? Just crying around. And she looks back, and there's a wolf in the back seat in the middle of those 2 boys.
In the back seat.
In the back seat with these 2 boys.
Wow.
If I told you where this area is, this is a common thing. So where she's at, like where she's at.
Let me ask you this: being an Oklahoma native, if you were to tell me, would I recognize the area?
The only person I've told about this area is Vault. Vault, to a T, told me exactly where this place was at.
I'm sure he did. Vault.
Right.
That sounds about right. That don't surprise me a bit, dude. He ain't even from Oklahoma, and I guarantee you, he can give you a step-by-step scenario of where this took place, where the trees were. That's hilarious.
I can't remember the highway's name, but I gave him literally. There's a place down there. There's a certain name, and there's a certain way that you say it. And I told it to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's over there off the highway." Blah 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 blah. I'm like,
okay, let me ask you this: is it an Indian name?
No.
No. Damn. You got me curious. Now we definitely got to have an off-air conversation, bro.
I'll just say this: it's a custom to bees. I'll say that. That's the only thing I'm gonna say about it.
It's a what now?
It's a custom to bees. What bees, what they do. It has something to do with them. There was a cereal named after it too. Not
cereal,
after it, but there's a cereal that has the same name as it.
Frosted Flakes.
And that's what we called it. No, not that.
Oh, okay.
Voltaire, what are you trying to say, D? I'm trying to say that you have some ridiculous memory in your mind. It seems like you've been in every single back road and back area where these monsters are found. So for anybody who doubts Vault is exactly what and who he says he is, I can vouch for that. There's places in my home state that I barely know about, that I've been to a few times, that he can tell you intricate detail about, and tell you other encounters that only he would know if he came to this state and talked to the people who had the encounters. So it always trips me out when I hear stuff like that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Well, I was on a live stream with him one night, and it was me, him, Bass, and Chaos, I think is who it was. And he said, and I talked to him multiple hours. I mean, we talked, I think 2 or 3 hours that one night, maybe 4 hours. And we were talking about some things, and he said, "Go ahead and look it up." And I was like, in the middle of the talking, he said, "Go look it up right now."
Oh man.
I was like, dude, literally, they changed. He told me these people, but he said they changed the names to this, but this is the real person's name. And I looked at it, I said, this dude is on something else. And that's how I knew. I was like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, he's on some crazy stuff. But to finish the story. So the guys were in the back, and she looked back, and she said it was a wolf. It looked like one of those old school timber wolf looking wolves. Them boys, they stopped the brakes. They stopped the car so fast, and the brakes hit so hard. They all jumped out and ran down the road. They just kept going. They just left the car. The lights was on and everything. And this is one of these old, desolate roads here in Oklahoma. And they said, "Well, do you think we should go back?" And they said,
no.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, these Indians around here, we have seen so many things that someone turning into that's like another day. That's just another, especially in the old days. The old days when
the old days, yeah. Well, that stuff seemed like it was just prominent.
Back in the 80s. Yeah, this is back in the 80s. Back in the 70s, late 80s or late 70s, early 80s. Man, this stuff was. that was rampant. Not rampant, but it was common. So
when you get these old traditionalists, it's no big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Then so they were like, "Well, I don't want to leave my car there, because I don't want to get, I don't want the next morning to get towed." So they jogged back and they looked back in the car, and it's a girl there. She was sitting there laughing.
Yeah.
It was the same girl. She was sitting there laughing, and they said, they looked at her, they're like, "Is everything good?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah, we're all right. Let's take me home." That was it.
No doubt.
And they were looking at her crazy the whole way home. They were all like looking at her with a side eye, like, "Oh, I don't, don't do it again,"
Bro, I can vouch for what you're saying. I'll tell you this short story, and then we start wrapping it up. I dated this Native American girl, Indian girl, that I grew up with. When I say grew up with, she lived next door when we were like 6, 7 years old in high school, or after high school, rather. We started dating, and we were talking about the little people. And people have heard me mention this before. I'm genuinely so you know what I'm talking about. We're not even supposed. I know you probably experienced. We ain't even supposed to be talking about them because we experienced them, bro. I'm not going to say their actual name. I will say little people. I know the actual native name.
I don't even like that.
Bro, we're not even supposed to be talking about them. And I can tell by his reaction, he knows what I'm talking about. If you come into contact with these things and you talk, I'm getting chills right now. If you come into contact with these things and you talk about them, then
around.
Yeah, they'll come around. They'll come around and like pester you. But anyways, this girl, like, she was the one that told me about them, right? Because there was weird stuff going on in her house. I was probably 19. We had just graduated high school. Weird stuff going on in her house. Supernatural, poltergeist type shit. And I would go over there, we'd drink cold beer and hang out and watch movies and whatnot. And just stuff would start, it would float and then drop to the floor. So it wasn't like somebody hit a wall or the house was shifting and you could blame it on that. It would float up above whatever it was sitting on, move, and then drop to the floor. And I finally had enough of that. And she, one day, out of nowhere, just like it was something cool to start talking about, she says, "Oh, well, the little people don't like you because you came into contact with them and you talk about them." And this is before any of these shows or anything else, right? I'm like, what are you talking about, little people? Like midgets? She's like, no. And she said the Native American name. And I was like, yeah, when I was 16, we went out on this same God's land I was telling you about, and everybody there had an experience with it. Everybody except me got poison ivy. When we went back the next day, there was no poison ivy to be seen. Weird stuff like that. And after she told me this, man, like, for whatever reason, it was like a seed was planted. And yeah, so the little people in Oklahoma, I can vouch for everything this gentleman's saying, being a Native American or Indian traditionalist and following his people's ways. Me not being a part of that tribe and not fully understanding all that, I understand enough to know it's real and to leave it be.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, man. It's just, and that's one thing that I came on Sean's show to begin with to tell some of these stories because, I feel like, I see the way we're going and the way that things are playing out, and I'm not by any means not trying to feel sorry for us, please, but I'm just, the reason why I even came on Sean's show to begin with is just to get, hey, we're still here, we're still around. Our presence is still here, and we're still, we want you guys to know that, hey, there's some things that we know, and there's some things that we can affect. Yes, we are very loving, and we're very, you heard me laugh a few times, but that's how we are. We sit around and we tell these stories, and we, we just, care about each other. We take care of everybody, and that's just kind of how it is. That's kind of how, what we do. But let me jump off this call, man. I appreciate both of you guys.
Absolutely.
I took a big chunk of your time. Do you have Facebook?
No, I don't. That's a dumpster, as Dark says, that's a dumpster fire. But you can reach me at oklahoma-doss, DOSS, at gmail.com. I'll eventually get set up on some social media.
Yeah, I'll shoot you an email, and maybe we can talk offline, because
Please
there's all
do.
types of stuff, man. I mean, Sean can vouch for this. I got Dogman stories. I got Bigfoot stories. I got little helpers. I don't call them what you call them.
Yeah, I do. Well, I've heard them call that too. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to say it online because it'll be out there, and then that'll come back on me. But like, if I say if I said their name, you would recognize it. You know what I'm talking about, bro. Yeah. And I'm not that foolish. I don't want no smoke.
Yeah, and I got East Aquanaya, which is Tie Snake, which is Big Snake. East Chupco, which is Tall Man.
Yeah, it's Chupco.
I got all types of stuff, man. But let me hop up here, and maybe somebody else got some other good stuff going on here. I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, sir. Great talking to you.
All right, thanks, Tony. Yes, appreciate it.
Yep.
Ooh, Mark Roberts put it in the chat. That's crazy. Oh man, I just happened to look down at the chat, and as soon as I saw it, like, there it was.
Crazy.
Like I said, Mark, I don't want no smoke, bro.
Every time that one man's called and I refer to little people, he gets a little bit antsy.
Yeah,
I've had some Indians from up in I don't like to be called Indians, Aboriginals up in Canada. Talk to them at great length, and they tell me about these little people.
Really?
You just don't want to. You don't want to have any conversation with them. You definitely do not want to make a deal with them whatsoever.
Hell no. But the thing is, like, the people that you know, like they don't like being called Indians? Because all the Indians I know don't like being called Native Americans. They got it tattooed on their hands and stuff, like NDN, the letters, like call me what I am.
Right.
So I guess it's just different strokes, different. You know what I mean? Different folks.
Well, the Canadian Aboriginals, they a whole generation, was taken away from their families and then put in boarding schools. They literally grew up without having their culture.
Yeah, they stripped it away from them.
Yeah,
they couldn't have their culture because I look at it as it is. They were colonialists, and if you allow the occupying people to stay, instead of wiping them out, what do? You strip them of their culture, you strip them of their history, you strip them of their name and their customs. And that's what they did. It's a sad thing. I'm sorry I'm a little distracted now because like 2 people have thrown this Native American name in there. So more people know what I'm talking about. And it's no joke, folks. Like if you hear about this and wherever you're living and there's a scary bridge that people say these beings live under, don't mess around with them. Just take it as it is. Believe them because it's real.
Yeah, the monster under the bridge, monster under the bed.
Yeah,
I had a guy. What was his name? Flynn Ryder. He researches at great length UFOs, and he was talking about portals underneath beds and of all things, wardrobes.
Yes,
and these are where these aliens, portal into. And that's from his research. I was like, wow. So
Bro,
Art Bell wasn't too far. Art Bell wasn't too far off saying I don't like having my wardrobe open.
And that goes all the way back to like hundreds of years ago, where people didn't like leaving their closet doors open. They're actually spiritualists who, they'll take 4-cornered like closet, you know what I mean, with the racket and chair and everything, and they'll use that as the portal to bring over these spirits. One of the craziest stories I've heard, it was with this guy who, talking about the little people, he talked about elves and fairies. He was a Scottish dude, and he said that he talked to this lady over there in Scotland whose husband had just died. She said her husband was trying to come back, but it was incidentally she called him a red Indian. Now, that's not being racist. This was a long time ago, and this woman is an old woman then. But she said a red Indian was in her, what do you call it, a duvet, or it's like a closet that's mixed with a dresser. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
This red Indian, she called him, would open up this closet door and look like she would bring her husband out, but the husband would disappear. She saw the Indian plain as day, but the husband would disappear. And night after night, it seemed like it was becoming more and more that the husband would appear. But it was like this spiritual being was trying to bring her husband's spirit from the other side or something, but it scared her so much that she just got rid of this thing. Well, of course, if you follow the story, everybody who had this big duvet or closet or whatever you want to call it, they experienced the same thing. This Native American, this Indian person coming out in the middle of the night, actually physically opening the doors. They could physically see him. They would be shocked. And as soon as they saw that, as soon as this spiritual being saw that these people were scared, it disappeared. It wasn't like he was trying to scare anybody, but they all said that it was like he was trying to cross over for some reason. That's a wardrobe. Thank you, Miss Firehorse. Yeah, that's an easy one. I'm trying to find some fancy French way of saying, wardrobe.
Well, there's been so many conversations about Hellier, Kentucky, and the little people and the fairies over through there, and Bigfoot. I guess that's pretty close to where the dogmen roam that DW's told several stories about. But my grandparents grew up over there, and that's where they first, when they got married, that's where they first lit out. And my grandmother used to scare the living crap out of me talking about all these crazy paranormal boogers and whatnot while I was a kid. And it's just crazy.
These monsters.
Hellier, Kentucky's only like 30 miles from me. And right over the
You hear a lot about Hellier, Kentucky, though.
Oh,
You're absolutely right.
It's just a little. It ain't. I wouldn't even classify as a town. It's a bunch of houses that's grouped together. That's about it. And it's got a road. And the last time I was there was just one of those little flashing signal lights.
And that's it.
That's it. It's got probably was a little convenience store right there in the corner, and a few houses around. But there's a whole hell of a lot of stuff going around that place.
That's interesting. You know, I'd really love to, and it's going to happen, to go to little places like that. You know what I mean, and have enough time to spend some time, because a lot of places that you watch on TV that these ghost hunters and other folks go to, they're there at night and they hear a raccoon running underneath the house and they get the heebie-jeebies and leave, or they actually do get real activity and they don't have enough time to really look into them. So I'd really like to go to these places and do a real full-fledged investigation into them.
I would, I've got West Vic looking for Aboriginal folks that would possibly tell about some stuff, and I got Al on my show from Shawnee over in the Northwest, and he talked about the black magic stuff, and it's just like, wow, really? He talked about this. His father, now is dead, was chosen by this Aboriginal witch, I guess, black magic practicing witch in Shawnee Nation. Said, I'm going to pass on my knowledge to you, and he refused and never thought anything about it after that. And after she passed away, he came back to the funeral, and they, the Aboriginal family came together and started rummaging through her, belongings. This old witch found this rotted piece of meat wrapped up in this cloth. They opened it up, put it on the bed, and started moving.
Ew.
Yeah. But years later, his father and his brother got into probably a business proposition together and bought a bunch of cattle. And apparently his father wound up getting ticked off at his brother, and he, called him up, said, I'm going to sell the cattle. And then, true to his word, sold the cattle, and his brother come back and wound up, here's your money, here's half the money of it. And his brother got so mad, he said that he has eyewitnesses where his brother's face turned into a dog.
His face turned into a dog?
Yep, that's what he said.
That's very, very intriguing.
Yeah, he said apparently his uncle inherited what that old shaman witch was offering his father.
And man, and that's how you really get to the meat of it. And, I hate to say that but it is what it is. Like, once you find one of these traditionalist Native American families and you hear stories like that and go talk to their ancestors or their great grandkids or whatever the case is, that's really when all this weirdness will start opening up to you, where you can see the actual practicality of it. Like, it's not just stories. There's something going on there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. There was this one guy called me. I actually approached Vault with this when all this stuff happened down in Cott County, Tennessee, with the animal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
He called me and said, he was literally just frightened. He'd been pushed off his property, his entire family off his property by dogmen. And apparently he shot at him and apparently threatened these dogmen. And literally, he had to send his family off. What the hell is that sound?
You heard that too?
Yeah. What is that? There's some dogs barking out there. Their Vault. Yeah, there's some dogs barking out there on the back of your property, brother.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild that the audio cleared up for that?
You're right. It was crazy you say that. It did seem like the audio cleared up just for that. Because there was this like white noise until I heard the barking.
Yeah. You've got some animals off the back of your property for sure. No doubt about it. I'm now all here. But anyway, what was that guy's name? I had him to come on to my program one night, and apparently he got the I guess you call it Kool-Aid injection earlier that day.
Oh, yeah.
He was sick as a dog. After that, and he couldn't come on. He was going to tell me about his encounter. He literally said, "I've lost my job, and only thing I've got is this ginseng patch off the back of my property that I can sell the ginseng and make it through the winter." Said, "I will offer anybody half of the proceeds from that to help me get rid of these things."
I remember you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
ginseng, that's pretty. That goes for a pretty hefty price.
Yeah, I think wet at one time here in the last year or so was getting approaching $1,000 a pound. Wet,
Hmm.
wet poundage. So it's just one of those things. Oh, I hear a car now. That's wild how that audio just cleared right up. Now you kind of wonder what's going to pop up on the video.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I'm glad I was able to say, hey, I can probably share my screen and jump on here and take a call.
You're absolutely right. I'm forever indebted to you for that, and I'll have to work on that on my end. But I'm not going to hold you all night, Sean. I sincerely appreciate you coming on and throwing up the number, grabbing us a guest. Got the live footage going. Got to talk to the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice little cap
Well,
on the
pleasure.
Occupy Halloween, you know?
Oh, yeah. Pleasure. Got to tell a couple ghost stories.
Yes, sir.
I almost, well, I've talked it over with my girlfriend about showing cameras and, my live feed from the cameras inside my house. And she talked me out of it. Said, no, you don't want that kind of attention on your house. You never know what's going to pop up and make it worse.
Right.
Sometimes I've done shows and the supernatural stuff in here just starts going out off a hinge, and I have to start rebuking in the name of Jesus Christ to get rid of it.
And it made me think maybe I was in a little something like that with this heater kicking on out of nowhere, and then the phone throwing itself.
Well, it is what it is. There's always a wrench in the system somewhere.
Absolutely, there.
Gremlins.
Unfortunately, gremlins. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for joining us on Dogman Cams on this Halloween night. My daughter actually just walked through the door from her trick or treating. So, Mr. Sean Graham, I sincerely appreciate you jumping on. We thank Dark Waters for making it all happen. Vault for opening up his land and his property to us, and making the bonfire tonight and opening up the stream and telling some spooky stories. It's been phenomenal. It really has.
All right. Well, maybe we can do this sometime again, buddy.
Absolutely. Hopefully sooner than later.
All right. Well, I'll take care and I'll hop off here. Folks, if you want to join me over on Sean G, Chasing Truth Sean G, I'll be up Wednesday. I might do an impromptu stream between now and then. I don't know yet. It's just how things pan out. But Chasing Truth Sean G, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central. And I'll be doing the same thing I usually do, taking live calls and seeing who or what calls in. You never know. Might be somebody from the future calling. Who knows?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, you never know. Pick up the old Art Bell shovel and say, okay, we're going to talk to whoever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do that, but I've had some strange calls and some crazy calls and some stuff. I'm kind of wondering, why in the world did I even answer that call? But,
yeah, right.
Yeah, buddy. But God bless you. God bless.
God bless you, sir.
And I'm going to head out for a while. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Sean. And again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me tonight on hopefully not the last little bit of Occupy Halloween, but it has been a blast. And I will see you guys tomorrow, where we'll have something real special for you. This is D-Daw signing off for Dogman Cams. You all have a great night. Happy Halloween.